It's not the Star Floaty Boaty thing. First episode for 2025. I thought I'd kick this video off with this wee bit of footage, simply because you can hear the sound of that old gardener going strongly in the background. What a lovely sound. I absolutely love it, and I'm looking forward to hearing it again. Anyhow, bit of a update around everything. We've had lots of great fun with the Outboard motor, starting work on the electrics. I've still got a lot of work to do getting everything sorted out. A few electrical bugs to sort with the system, a few things to sort in relation to the solar power, the Maxwell Windlass winch, power for that, power to the chart plotter and fish finder. So thanks for tuning in, and hope you hang around to the end. Well, I thought I'd start the new year with a quick job. Pop down to the boat, and I thought I'd sort those stupid electrical block connectors out. You can see there, and we've all seen previously, and I've talked about previously, wrapped in insulation tape. Basically, poor connections, a fire risk in my view, and needed to be sorted. Sorry about the bad footage. Unfortunately, one of my grandbabies, Isla, grabbed a hold of the GoPro and was playing with it, and I didn't check the lens before I used it. It took me a wee while to work that one out, and then realised it was covered with sticky ick, which was affecting the quality of the footage. Right, I'll see if that's the right size on there. I was going to solder each of these, but doing a bit of reading, I don't think it makes a hell of a lot of difference. And in some respects, might actually make it a little bit worse by a blob of solder making the joint a little bit fragile and causing a bit of resistance. So I'm working on the premise that anything else is going to be better than it was, and certainly better than these silly blocks. I think that's that's a bit too small. Just that over there. Doesn't quite work that well, is it? A little bit of heat on there. Right, let's let that cool down a little bit. I don't know how much further to melt those, although that's pretty darn good. Or not. No, that was no good whatsoever. I think I should have let it cool down. Bugger. Right, we'll try that again, shall we? Right, let's put that on there. And, oops, we'll try that again. Right, I might just let those cool down a bit this time, and we'll see what happens. Looks like it's melted the solder a little bit better. Right, shrink wrap. This is the double walled resin impregnated marine shrink wrap. So whatever I do, it's not going to be any worse than those silly blocks that are joining everything up. I don't know that that's actually getting it hot enough, to be fair. Abandoned this process after a short while and went back to the heat gun, which was much better. I just needed to take my time and warm it up properly. Potentially could have gone a little bit smaller with the shrink wrap. It's well sealed in there with the resin. I can see the resin running out of the top and bottom. So that's the first one done. Next one is these here, black and red, and they're to a sensor. Absolutely despise those. Right, I might just look at a shrink wrap on this as well. I'll also do a little bit of a up there as well. Right, you can see the resin popping out of there. Let's let that cool down before I go burning my fingers on that as well. Well, that's 2 wires done. Let's do the next. Well, that was easier said than done, but we got into a rhythm, and I think we've got some good connections there. They're quite good, those little fittings. You can see the solder, when you get it right, wicking down the wires and melting, so which is quite good. Well, that's certainly a hell of a lot better than those other bloody huckery looking blocks, plastic connector blocks. So I need to just bring a couple of cable ties down next time I'm down and tidy that up a little bit more. There's some more of those bloody awful connectors there as well. There's potentially it's a job for another day. Replace that one there. The Maxwell Windlass hasn't been going for a while, and I believe that was probably due to one of the houseboat batteries being down to about 5 amps. And the other one being about 12 wasn't providing enough through. I don't know if this is a 12 or 24 volt Maxwell Windlass with a 12-24. It's an RC12C or an RC12 model. So I don't know whether it's makes any difference whether you hook it up to 12 or 24 volt, whether you just hook up to what's available or not. The overload circuit breaker here is 135 amp, which is what is recommended for a 12 volt system. 80 amp is recommended for a 24 volt system. I have one wire here that's not hooked up. It is a earth wire. Now, the 24 volt system, the feed for the windlass is coming off that battery. Do I hook the earth for the reversible solenoid or dual direction solenoid to that battery or to that battery? Common sense will tell me that battery. If I hook it up to that battery, I'll be sucking 12 volts off there, not getting the 24 volts. What do you think? Am I putting this through the complicator? The second question is the wiring for the solar power hooked up there. Does that apply to the same thing? Do I run it into one battery or and put the earth up to there? What do you think? What's your views? I need to do a wee bit of research. To me, you can see there's a fair bit of heat on there. That bolt's quite black. There's signs of heat damage to the plastic. Something there and there, which doesn't look as though it's mechanical damage. That looks like heat, so I don't quite know what the story is there. I may need to replace that circuit breaker, which will be why it's not working. I found the book for it. Unfortunately, it doesn't tell me whether it is a 12 or 24 volt in the system, or whether it doesn't matter, they're all 12 or 24 volt. And thought I'd come down and have a look at the winch itself. All sorted out. Controller, charge controller is a 30 amp one. It's for 12, 24 volt systems, maximum 390 watt panels for 12 and 24. So for both 12 and 24 volts, it's the maximum number of panels can't exceed 390. A little bit of YouTubing, easy things to sort out. The earth wire for the solar panels hooked up to the other battery was pretty obvious once I thought about it, because it was showing some 25 volts in the batteries as opposed to just 12, and I took the negative over to the one battery, to the same battery the power cable's hooked up on. So now it's hooked up to charge the 24 volt house system. A float level at this stage is set at 26 volts, so it's charging even when it's overcast now outside. I can probably change that and increase that a little bit. The 24 volts is when I've had the load. Anything coming off here is a load turning off, so I don't want to drain the batteries. Apparently I can have it quite a bit lower, probably about 22 volts. But I really don't want to be doing that. I'm not running a lot off the loads anyway. So that's it. So the next job will be to tip the panel upside down and see if I can work out what size panel it is, how many watts that is. May very well be able to set up another system identical to that and use it to top up the starter batteries as well. But it would be nice to have an excess of power ability to keep the batteries topped up nicely. Right, on with the saga of the Outboard. I haven't filmed this, pretty tedious, and you've seen me pull everything to bits once. I purchased a new carburetor off AliExpress, looked to be the same carburetor, was more or less the same design here. All this is the same design, this is all the same design. Catch bowl was different, float system was different, and the only other thing that was different was the fuel air mixture screw. I don't quite work that one out, but anyhow, all the other parts were interchangeable, so I put the whole complete part of that on for the fuel pump, new bellows, whatever you call them, new spring, new cap, replaced that from the new to old, replaced that from new to old, that from new to old, replace that, pretty much all that surplus to requirements, and unfortunately won't fit within the space provided in the engine because of the catch bolt and the design. So yeah, but never mind, it was about $30 I think, so I think it's a small price to pay if I can get this thing up and running. Okay, let's see if we can get this going. Open the fuel cap, a little bit of air in, air breather, turn that on there, start. Oh, get a little bit of choke. success. Might have hit the sweet spot with the fuel air mixture. It's not bad for a 1985 or 1987 motor. So how old does that make it? That makes it probably nearly 30 years old. Not bad for an old outboard. I'm not a mechanic. I know very little about engines, outboards. I just give things a go, do a little bit of research, nut things out, look for advice, and sometimes things work out. Right, let's put the lid on it. Tightens down a wee bit. Coming out. The next job will be to run a bit of salt away through it. Never had a flush after it was last used because we couldn't get it going. I've given it all a good huck out with some salt away. The only time this engine has never been flushed after being used in the salt water, as few times as it has been, was when we couldn't get it going again. So running some salt away through it. Hopefully it'll clear out any salt crystals that formed, because I couldn't run the engine last time when we got back. Flush it. Let's turn that off, turn the fuel off, we'll run it dry. I don't know whether it's a good thing or not. I was always told to run a two-stroke dry, use the fuel and oil out of the catch bowl so the fuel doesn't evaporate and leave the catch bowl full of oil. What does everybody think? The plan is I'm going to start trying to untangle some of this mess to work out what's house, what's 12 volt, what's 24 volt. And I did sort of have a bit of a play once before with that and worked out that things were sort of labelled. So that's the starting down there. This is the supposed to be 12 volt, and I remember maybe 24 volt over there. But at the moment it's all running off 12 volt, which is probably why, and I may have a blown fuse, why the fish finder chart plot is not working. And then we're going to work out, I'm going to have to come down and take the cover off the Maxwell windlass. The front there, as you can see, it's got a cover held down with some special screws. Take that off, get the serial number off the motor, and work out and ensure that that's 24 volt as well. If it's 12 volt, I'm going to need to go and find a bigger 24 to 12 volt converter. The one I bought is only 10 amp, which will be sufficient to run probably most of the 12 volt auxiliary stuff at the same time. But hey, you're really realistically only going to have the radio on and the chart plotter, occasional kicks in and kicks out with the freshwater pump or the macerator. But macerator and the freshwater pump certainly sound pretty lively to me. So they're charging at 24.2 volts up there, so you can see how warm that is. Oh, it's warm as to be expected, but not hot, not concerning. Possibly the panels need a little bit of a wash, or the batteries are pretty well topped up. So at that end, I've just been down and bought a Orion or Victron DC to DC 24 to 12 volt converter. A little bit of wire. I bought, because I couldn't find my cable ties at home, so I bought 2 sizes of cable ties. Looks like a relatively straightforward thing. Input positive and negative, output positive and negative. It's fused, which is good. Is at 12 volts. Input 18 to 36 volts, so we're well within what we need there. It's 10 amps, so it's not a huge converter. I just read the instructions here. The first thing I note is please note that bad minus, so it must be negative terminals, connection could result in output over voltage. So basically insert the two, first connect the minus supply, the ground or earth, to one of the cables of the Orion. The two are interconnected. Then connect the remaining cabling. It's now ready for use. So it's straightforward, it would appear. And that's all she wrote, other than keeping it in a cool, dry and ventilated area. And like I said, I have another converter at home, but I don't know if it works or not, if there's something wrong with it or not, so I've decided to start from new and we'll build from there. Okay folks, the long promised startup. Listen to that heartbeat. I was going to use that one for the feed for that, but then I noticed the cables are slightly different, so quite likely better off having two identical size positive and negative cables coming into it. So I've just undone that off there, and I'll take the end off and hook it up to there. So basically I'm running the earth straight back to the battery, so that's negative in and that'll be the positive in. I've got to work out what I'm going to do over here. There's about a number of earth wires off the 12 volt side of it there that need to be hooked up. Ideally I probably need to put a new bus bar in and combine some of that, but that won't be a job for today. We'll just see if we can get this up and running. Okie dokie, now those are in, same size cables. I'll hook that up to the positive on the battery now, so it'll be 24 volts coming to the system. Now I have to run the outlet, but I've just a couple of little cable ties on there to hold things steady. Now I should have actually got some more of that wire. Of course I've had to use black wire and slightly smaller gauge, so next time I'm into the store I'll pick up a little bit more of this. I think a 6 gauge. So I've got the same gauges going in and coming out, but just for the moment that'll work. Just got to remember which one's a positive feed and which one's a negative. Well, excuse the cans. that sounds a little less dramatic. Fish find and chart plotter's back up and working. Back up and working. Back up and working. I don't know what's going on there. 24 volt lighting system's working. I think something's crapped out on that red light there. Let's go and have a look at the macerator.
No.
Macerator's not working. So, as far as the macerator pump goes, I would hazard a guess and probably say that it's a 24 volt system, and because I've now hooked up the 12 volt to it, although I haven't changed anything, that's what I can't quite understand, but you know, it's certainly not working. I'll track down the wiring for it from the switch in the back there and down, and we'll work out what's going on. Now I know it's all just more wiring into a system that's already full of wiring, but I want to be able to use the boat, and if I don't do something about getting it sorted, it'll be sitting here in another 6 months time with me trying to get the jobs done. So the jobs are going to be done as we use the boat. Ultimately I'm going to be putting all the wiring and the switchboard up there. I've left a little bit of extra length on these. I'll start labelling and making a diagram so I can sort out what's what in here, and I get a good knowledge of what's happening, and I can get everything all sorted, labelled, tidied up. A few cable ties just to tidy it up, even though it is only temporary. So I put 3 of the 4 screws in there and tie that up. Probably needs a little bit of a securing to the inside of the battery box there, stop it vibrating around. I imagine a bit too much vibration will cause a bit of stress on there. Right, let's find out what's going on with this macerator pump now. Tracked it round and down to there, and it was actually one of the ones I removed off here was getting a 24 volt feed. Certainly doesn't seem to want to work now with a with 12 volts. Well, I did get the macerator pump going again, but that was by hooking it back up to 24 volts. I don't quite get it. Pump says 12 volts, won't work on 12 volts, only 24 volts. So unless there's a very poor earth and 24 volts is the only way to provide enough voltage to it to make it work, I don't know. Hey, well, I hope you've enjoyed the episode and you've hung around to the end. As always, please like and subscribe and share the video. It does help with promoting the video for other people to see. I enjoy making these, and it's really nice to get the feedback that I've been getting. So okay, so until next time, stay safe out there, just get out there, do it, give it a crack, give it a nudge, and have a go.